I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then also we can pause for just a brief moment of silence. Thank you. I think it is important, especially this week, there's been some serious tragedies from afar and close in our area. And I know that our hearts, our minds, our thoughts, our prayers, everything goes out to the victims' families. Just, it's been tragic. And we have to do something, and they're calling on leaders, right? I hear them say, what are the politicians doing about this? So, and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. So just so much, it's affecting all of us, So let's begin our meeting. But before I do that, I want to go back to the shootings. I know that one of the mass shootings that occurred at the grocery store says that it was racially motivated. And it very well, it seems like it was, but I also feel like it affects all of us. I think that not just does it hit home for someone who is either Black or brown, but it hits everyone because everyone is a target now. You know, everyone is a target. So it's just so serious. It's heartbreaking, heart-wrenching, and I know it affects everyone. So I just had to put that out there because this is a serious matter. All right. So it is time for public comment. And I don't know that we have anyone from the public. Is that, oh, Mr. Johnson, his name is there? Is that Councilmember Johnson? So I do see someone on the phone, but I don't know if they have a comment. Hello, Ms. Tuberville. Okay, so if we don't have any comments from the public, thank you for your attendance. Greatly appreciate that. And as we move on in our agenda, the next item is the final consideration of our ordinance 2022-OR-03 to appropriate and adopt the annual budget for fiscal year 22-23. Is there a motion to move the annual budget, to approve the annual budget for fiscal year 22-23?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. McCulley. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. Is there any discussion, any question? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, motion passes, budget passes. McCulley. All right, next item, our minutes. April 5th, 2022 work session meeting minutes and April 13th, 2022 regular council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minute.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Chester. Any discussion? Questions? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Great. The next item is the introduction of ordinance 2022-OR-04 to amend the annual budget for fiscal year now 2021-22. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Ms. McCulley. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? Any update or anything, Mr. Barnes? Anything changed from last week?
No, Mayor, this is just simply moving items
2
around
weeks.
where we need to.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you very much. The next item is to designate the Black-Eyed Susan as the town of Edmonston's flower and the willow oak as the town's official tree. I know we had some serious discussion about that. I know we had so many flowers and trees to choose from, and this is such a deep item, but someone has to make that motion.
I'll make it.
All right, Ms. McCulley. Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
All right,
Oh, well.
Ms. Chester. Thank you very much. Any discussion on the trees and the flowers? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, thank you. The next item is the ordinance 2022-OR-05, amending the town's tree ordinance and creating a tree board. You remember that discussion that we had? Is there a motion to approve?
Before do we make the motion first and then have discussion, or can we have?
You can make that motion. And then we can
Is
discuss.
that better than discussing?
And
You can
it's,
make the motion and then we'll discuss.
it's to introduce.
Okay. Yes, I'll make the motion to introduce it.
Thank you, Ms. Chester. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Now, Ms. Chester, is there discussion on that?
I actually do have some kind of recommendations, perhaps, and some new areas that maybe we would want to consider including in our tree ordinance. I had a conversation with 2 residents over the last couple of days that are really timely around the issue of trees on private property. And it actually would have been relevant for a different resident that raised some complaints, concerns last year around trees on private property. And so I'm wondering if, in addition to addressing the permitting and just being very careful about making sure that people are using reputable tree trimmers and contractors when they're doing big changes or removing trees, that we also clarify like whose responsibility those kind of major alterations would be. The instance of the current resident that raised this week, as well as the other prior instance I'm thinking of, the tree was on one person's property, the trunk of the tree, the kind of overwhelming body of the tree, but there were a lot of branches encroaching on the neighbor's yard, and that's where it gets not as clear just how much someone can make changes or cutting someone else's tree, whether that person whose tree is on their property, whether it's actually their responsibility and they should take.
I see you, Ms. Ferguson.
So just, can we talk about, is there language, model language we could be using to include those kind of issues in our tree ordinance before moving forward with just the changes that we're making?
Ms. Ferguson. Thank you, Ms. Chester.
Trees, of course, have been around forever. And so law about trees has been around forever and is in the common law. Frankly, it's that old, though we inherited it from England. And the law is that if someone's tree branch, a part of someone's tree is on your property, you can cut that part off. Regardless of what it's going to do to the tree, you can do that because it's crossing into your land. Most people don't do that because they know it'll hurt the tree, but you cannot require the owner of the tree to pay for that. So there's really that's property ownership rules law between two private owners, which you should not be getting into as a town. And you do not need to put that in your code. That's done separately. It's not a regulation that you're placing. You would be trying to, well, depending on what you were doing, you either repeating what the law already is or trying to override what the law is, but that's real property law. And I just don't think you have the ability to do that.
Well,
Then
correct me. I mean, we do have it separate in our code. Is that correct?
What? Ownership?
Are we addressing trees and tree hangings in another resident's property? It's not in our code, Mr. Barnes?
No.
So it's totally incorrect.
No, it's addressed by state law. I mean, as common law that like Sue Ellen said, and so we don't address it because it's private property and it's between the property owners. And if the limbs are hanging over the fence and the trunk is on the other side, that property owner can cut those limbs, like
Right,
we
yeah.
discussed.
So
Yeah,
that's
And
state.
but that's just common law. That's not a
Right.
law from our ordinances or from
Mhm.
the county or anyone. It's just the way that the courts have ruled over the years and how it
That's
works.
correct. That's correct.
And so, Ms. Chester, what you're saying is, can we put something in there that says something, not necessarily a code, but sort of just in case, if you have a tree and the tree if your tree is in your property and it falls over into my property, who's responsible? Kind of thing. Or
Yes,
if your
that was my
tree,
question. My question was, can we come up with, and it sounds like maybe we cannot, I don't know.
No, you don't assist.
because
You don't
we're,
assist the homeowner for that. A tree law, and it's kind of surprising to know that if a tree falls over, whatever lands on the other person's property is the other person's problem.
Mhm.
And that's true if it falls in the town's right of way too. So, and that's just common law also. And it's very old law.
Yeah.
So that is between property owners though. And your code is not the place for the law to be stated. The law that's between property owners to be stated. That's in other laws, either in case law or maybe in state law, but.
The tree board could educate. I mean, they could put out information that explains to property owners how the responsibility of who can do what with trees. Because like Sue Ellen said, and like the case that I talked to you yesterday about, Councilmember Chester, was, you would hope that the two property owners would agree mutually to trim the tree in the best interests of keeping the tree alive and healthy, and maybe working together on how that happens. But that's not going to always be the case. And, property owners are sometimes going to be in disagreement and they're going to end up doing something different. But certainly one of the requirements that Sue Ellen put in about the tree board is to, provide education and information about trees. So
can I
Yeah.
just ask a follow-up question? So there's no, like, we don't have the ability to create any kind of code around, people having to maintain trees in a safe way or maintain
Well,
trees.
yes, you
or
do.
address-
You do have, under your property maintenance code,
Mhm.
have the right to require that trees be maintained in a healthy manner and that, so that they don't become a hazard or a nuisance. Certainly, but talking about cutting off tree branches is separate unless, of course,
I think
that tree
nuisance
branch
falls
is a hazard. And if the tree branch is a hazard, then the owner can be required to take it down because it's still a hazard.
Mhm.
But if it's just that somebody doesn't like the branches coming across the property line, that's just too bad.
And so
We
would the-
also, under our property maintenance code, can require a dead tree to be cut
Mhm,
on private property.
right. 'Cause that's
And then-
that's a health and safety thing.
Okay. And then would the tree committee, would they be the ones that would help determine whether a tree has crossed the line from being unattractive to being dangerous? That,
That's not advisable unless you have someone who's a arborist,
real true.
right? Generally
I think
speaking.
in our
if-
case, because we've now established a relationship with Bartlett Tree, and tonight I'm going to ask y'all to spend some money to get our trees all in shape after the inventory. And they're obviously the professionals with arborists on staff. So we would contact them and say, can you come out and do an assessment of a tree? Because the other thing that, we try to encourage people not to cut down trees, but homeowners get excited sometimes about trees that potentially can fall on their homes, and they want the trees, they want the tree cut or gone. And if it's a live tree and it's healthy, we're our position is always opposed to that and try to encourage them to just trim the tree and to make sure that it doesn't have any unhealthy limbs that could fall on the house.
so if I read the draft of this tree ordinance correctly, it doesn't sound like the tree committee would be looking at, or that the town in any way would be looking at trees on private property in order to assess like, oh, is that tree unhealthy, healthy? And so I guess I'm just not clear where.
Well, we do that assessment, Councilmember, from a property maintenance standpoint. So under the property maintenance code, if our code compliance officers go to a home and they see a tree that's potentially unhealthy, then they're going to have an arborist come in and determine whether they need to cite the owner for having the tree trimmed because of the hazard, or because the tree's dead and needs to be removed. So we already have that ability in our property code. We wouldn't want to give that authority to a volunteer tree board
Okay.
that may not have the expertise, although the folks that have volunteered so far to be on the tree board are all professionals that have some experience in that area.
Maybe I misunderstood when we were talking yesterday that it seemed like we didn't have that ability to have a code officer go out and then look at a tree and be like, it doesn't look good, and then bring in someone to look. But maybe I misunderstood. But
Well, I think the main thing we were talking about yesterday was that case where the limbs were crossed, and all the code officer or code compliance person is going to do in that case is explain that, it's between you two property owners. In this case, it wasn't an unhealthy tree. It wasn't.
it is though. I think that's the distinction, is that this isn't about like, oh, I don't like how this tree is in my yard. It's not a healthy. It's covered in ivy, and so it's not a healthy tree. And maybe that's I don't know. Like that's where I think it gets sort of fuzzy. Like,
Okay, but I mean, a tree is maybe unhealthy because it has ivy on it, and eventually the ivy could end up killing it. But that doesn't make it unhealthy from the standpoint of a health and safety standpoint, that it's going to not cause limbs to fall off and damage property. Does that make sense? I mean, I need to look at the tree, but.
Well, Sue Ellen mentioned one word that stood out to me, and you said nuisance. You said if the tree becomes a nuisance, who would determine?
that's what I don't understand.
Generally a nuisance is a word, it's something that's hazardous to health or life, and and a healthy tree whose limbs reach over into another property is not a nuisance and not a hazard. If some of the limbs are about to come off because the tree is not healthy, that's a different story, and the town can regulate that. If the tree itself might keel over because it's dead or dying, that can be regulated by the town. But when I heard about this, it wasn't anything like that. It was an otherwise healthy tree that just had limbs going across a property line.
Right, right. But I was asking who would determine the nuisance?
Well, first of all, code would go out there and take a look at the tree. And if code thought that it was possibly not healthy, you could bring in Bartlett or someone. You know, the issue is if a tree is not obviously dead, then we shouldn't have code out there on its own saying things about whether it's healthy or not, or will fall over on somebody's house or not, because they're not qualified to say that. And the town shouldn't be getting into that kind of level of predicting what's going to happen with the tree. They're not qualified to do that. And then you're going to have people very upset if you say it's fine and healthy. You're not going to require that it gets taken down and then it falls over a couple weeks later. So,
Okay.
From experience, because there was a tree that was dying, I contacted my insurance company, took a picture, sent it to them, the address of the other homeowner, and they talked to the homeowner, the other homeowner's insurance, and it was through the insurance companies. If the tree did fall, did do damage to my property, they were going to be held liable for it because they were forewarned. And I think in some of these cases, instead of us sticking our nose into two neighbors with a difference of opinion on their trees, is to have them contact their insurance company and let the insurance companies deal with it.
I think sometimes insurance companies will do that and sometimes they won't. But there's nothing that stops the neighbor from giving notice to their next door neighbor saying, I think your tree is dead and could fall on my house. I'm giving you notice. If somebody actually has actual notice that their tree is in a state that it might fall over, sometimes you can find them liable for it.
But that's not the case in this scenario.
Yeah, well, as far as
I don't
know, this tree was
think.
healthy. This tree was healthy.
Yeah, I think this
Yeah.
tree is healthy. It's just a nuisance to the neighbor.
Is this the tree I'm talking about, or are you guys talking
It's a
about?
subject.
It
it's
is.
a
I mean, we just
subject
don't get
nuisance.
tree issues, randomly.
Oh, so one was a
Probably-
tree that fell over in one case, and then in this more recent, so one case, the tree fell down. In this more recent one, it's like, it's a mess of the ivy and.
Ivy, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That's the one I'm talking about. Okay. So you are saying that you'd like us to look at the ordinance again to maybe add?
I mean, maybe unless we can't, and I guess I will be totally frank. I'm super confused. I don't know what's allowable or not. So I'm going to back off and say, I don't know. You guys maybe get this better than I do. Whatever is allowed to clarify, I think we should include that. If what we're clarifying is we can't get involved, then maybe make that more clear. I don't know, but.
So this is not an emergency. So it's something that we really want to do, need to do.
We're
I mean-
introducing, this is introduction, so we got another whole month
Yeah,
to study, review, add, modify any way that you'd
All of
like,
that.
Council Member Chester. So I hear what you're saying, I guess but I hear what Sue Ellen says. We don't have the ability to accomplish what you're wanting, but maybe there's some way else around it that we can make it in pulling our property maintenance ordinance together with this and looking and identifying that they're both working together well and the language is right in both of them. And that we're calling in that expert when we need to determine whether a tree is unhealthy, healthy, nuisance, not nuisance, that kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and maybe it's helpful for us to just also clarify if it's something that like, this is established law. And so, I don't know,
Yes.
maybe that's also helpful. If we can't do more, then we should maybe just be real clear about what our limits are so that that is clear to residents that like, here's what we can do. And rather than leave it unstated what we can't do, just make it a little more clear, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So Alan, does that make sense?
Preamble, if there's a preamble to the code, I don't know.
I kind of,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Sue, but I kind of understand where Ms. Chester is going. And I don't know if it's changing any of the wording that's already there. I think someone hit on it. It's about education.
Mhm.
And there are different ways for us to educate our community. We do our newsletters and so on and so forth. So it's about, if we're going to do tree ordinances, if we're going to have our tree board, so on and so forth, it's education. It's a did you know, or it's a test. It's a contest. It's creativity on our part to educate the community and give them the tidbits of what they can and can't do. So I think that might be where you're going. It's just more education. And that's in everything that we do. So this is something, again, something that we're introducing to our community and wanting them to be wiser with, more conscious with. And so I don't think it's really changing anything. It might be, but I don't think it is. But it's just us providing that education that you're talking about, I think. Go ahead, Ms. Chester, you said you wanted to say something else. Oh, okay. So let's just go forward with introducing the ordinance. You can review it some more and see if there's some tweaking that we might need to do. And then we can, of course, come up with this creative idea. I remember when we were talking, and well, no, this motion is on the floor, so I'll come back to that. So all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody's all awake. Great. But I remember when we were talking about composting, and no, it was composting, and it was also when we were talking about trash pickup, whether to go to 1 day a week, I believe. And a lot of, Kathy went to it and we were talking about it. And we couldn't just go to 1 day a week, because how do you teach a community that's used to several days pickup to go to 1 day? How do you do that? You have to kind of educate them. So that was important. We had to educate them about all of these rain gardens that we have, to understand why is that there in my neighborhood or my business. So that's the same thing with the trees and, all the codes that we have. So thank you. Very good discussion. Miss Tuberville, you unmuted. You're here. Did you want to say something?
I don't have anything to
Say
add.
something tree-like?
You guys have covered the canopy.
Yes. Very good. It's good to see you. Okay. Thank you for that discussion, though. All right. The next item, speaking of trash, the next item is to award of the bid for a 3-year contract for sanitation services with Old Faithful or Bates Trucking, not trucking. But yeah, Bates Trucking, it is Bates Trucking. I'll accept a motion to approve this 3-year contract with Bates.
You're on mute.
Roger, mute.
No, I was going to trick him and make him think we were listening. I was nodding my head.
The motion needs to include subject to the town attorney approving the contract.
How much is the money attached to the contract?
$104,000 per year.
Yeah, that's what we had last at our work session. So so the motion, we saw it, but Sue Ellen hasn't had an opportunity to review everything. So and remember, Mr. Barnes kind of added up a few. I think they were the only ones that sent in a bid, but he checked with, I believe, Riverdale, was it?
Yes.
And when you look at it, it just about comes out to the same, which is amazing. And so we can motion to approve upon the attorney's approval.
I'll make that
So-
motion.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right,
Mayor, can I ask a question before we,
yes, ma'am.
looks like Rod is also, has his hand up. I was just curious as to how the 104,000 a year compares to what our last contract was with Bates.
Oh, yeah, we did, it was, I think we did the math.
We
And it
did.
was an 8% increase. I think it was like
Yeah.
8%.
Okay.
Yep.
We did
I was going to share with you, I had them also bid once a week pickup. So twice a week cost us $104,451. Once a week would cost $96,324.
Yeah.
So only a reduction of $8,000, which
And are there any provisions in the contract about like rate hikes for us within the year because of, say, gas prices?
there is a provision about that. Yes.
Okay,
That's in the current contract. They actually raised some when the fuel prices increased. They actually implemented that portion of the contract.
okay. Rod, do you know, I'm
Surcharge.
sorry. What?
A surcharge.
What does that look like for us? I'm just wondering if we need to maybe prepare for this in the budget.
Oh, no, I put extra just in case of that because of the fuel prices. Yeah. We're
Okay, thank
covered.
you.
Uh-huh.
You're on it.
All right, all in favor, let me call it, I don't think I called. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I just wanted to tell, I know it's hard with Bates because when they're great, but when they're not, they're not. But I had a very lovely moment with trash pickup a few weeks ago where Elliot, my 3-year-old, was outside and the guys came around and they motioned to him and they let him pull the thing
The
on
horn.
No, they
Oh.
let him do the thing that lifts the trash into
Oh, really?
the back of the truck, which for a 3-year-old boy is like winning the lottery. So
Wow, Elliot is 3. Good gracious.
anyway, it was a very sweet moment and it probably endeared them to me just a little,
Oh,
as difficult as Bates can be.
oh, that's a nice story. Dang, Elliot is 3. Gracious. Okay.
Whoa, don't eat that.
Okay, so we did vote on that, right? Place.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Okay. All right, the next item is the approval for restoration of the plumber memorial, I'm sorry, the plumber mural by Collins and Son LLC in the amount of $14,365. We can explain,
I hope so.
but I'm going to let Mr. Barnes explain, really. It makes all kinds of sense. Go ahead, Mr. Barnes.
Oh, thank you. So unfortunately, back when the murals were completed, they weren't very well constructed to keep out the elements. And then on top of it, they were mounted on a fence with no protection whatsoever. So what has happened with the murals is water. They're a small piece. They're like a 1/4 inch piece mounted on a piece of plywood with a plexiglass covering and a metal frame. And so the water then and the mold has seeped into it. And so all across the bottom, particularly, the mold has degraded the painting, and then all the way around the edge where the water's gotten it. So we took it to our Operation Arts partners helped us and took it to a restoration artist so that we could see what we could do to restore it, and then discuss a location that maybe is much more protected so that it'll last into the future without having to have another restoration, and changing the frame so that the frame is completely waterproof. And we're actually going to recommend that we mount it here at Town Hall on the outside of the building under the little cubicle that's on the front of the building, and then mount lights on it so that if you were coming up to the little library, or if you were coming up to the front of the building, the first thing you would see is that mural. So, and then adding a little explanation. The artist, former Mayor Ortiz, knew the name of the artist, and so we're contacting that artist to see about getting a little bit of history from her on how she did those murals, and what her success has been.
Thank you. So any questions on that? Or
What do the other murals look like? Are we
The other
gonna
mural-
have to-
The other mural is located on the fence in front of Jinko Auto on Decatur. And it's going to have a similar thing, but we're tackling one at a time. This one has more and has the mold, and we're trying to stop that, obviously. And so we'll be coming to you in the future to solve that one too, but that'll be a different evaluation and cost associated with it.
Can we take that one down now to save it from any more damage?
Yes, yeah, that's going to be our recommendation.
And was there a third one back then, or just the two?
Just the two. There's the great big mural that Eco City did over on Crittenden, but
Right.
that's their mural, and it has had damage, and they're having it restored also. They just indicated today that they're having that done starting the end of June. So it looks like it's on some kind of particle board, and the particle board is just crumbling away all around it. So that's a beautiful mural over there on that property, but that's not ours.
No. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. So if there isn't any other discussion, is there a motion to approve the restoration of the Plummer mural for $14,365? Don't be scared.
I move we approve restoration, funds for restoration.
Thank you, Ms. Tuberville and Mr. Johnson. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Hillary's got a question, I think. Or,
Oh,
no, you just raised your hand? Okay.
I was voting, sorry.
I saw your hand go. I thought maybe you had a question.
I didn't realize I was on mute.
all right. The next item is the approval of Bartlett Tree Experts. The proposal for tree care services for priming of 49 trees, removal of 20 trees, fertilization of 48 trees, servicing the vines for 68 trees, and treat 37 trees. for $45,715. Just a mere $45,000. Mr. Barnes?
Yes, Your Honor. Part of this actions that we're doing is, some of this is so that there were recommendations that came out of our American in Bloom visits from the experts over the years. And this taking care of our tree canopy has also been a capstone project for our Chesapeake Bay Trust member, Bethany Sims. And so once we got the tree inventory completed, and we have 518 trees in our right-of-ways and public areas, then obviously we could determine what needed to be done to those trees. And you know, the town has not done anything. We've relied upon the utility companies and everyone else to just come through town and do whatever trimming that needs to be done. So unfortunately, trees need to be cared for. And as you can see, we have a lot of trees that need a lot of caring. 49 trees that need pruned, and 68 trees need the vines cut. Now, they don't remove the vines from the tree, but what they do is they sever the vines, you know, at their roots, and then they treat them. And so they won't grow back, and they won't continue to grow other than they'll turn brown in the tree. And so what I proposed, we kind of had manna from heaven with the ARPA funds and this year, and this, so that it didn't take a hit to our budget, I recommend that we use those funds to do this project. And then each year we would just budget a small, we do anyway, some tree maintenance money, but we would budget for any other, once we got it all the whole canopy of 518 trees in shape, then we can just budget for an annual program that we need as the trees grow and change.
Make that motion.
Any questions, concerns? It's all
I'll
good.
second
Oh.
Betsy's motion.
Betsy made the motion. All right. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And everyone is okay with the ARPA funds? I said that after the fact, but I'm sorry. Great. All right. Next, thank you very much, Council, for your engagement and approval of the items on the agenda. And the next is our police chief, Chief Gibson, your report.
Good evening, everyone. Please accept my statistical report for the month of April 2022. With respect to crime, there were no homicides in April, no forcible rapes, no felony assaults, no burglaries, no auto thefts. There was one simple assault, no thefts, thefts from auto. We had a total of one crime reported during the month of April 2022. With respect to incidentals during the month of April, 25 parking tickets were written, 174 moving tickets were written. There was one traffic arrest, one criminal arrest, 36 premises were checked, 84 traffic stops, 40 vehicles were impounded. There were 158 calls for police service. Recovered stolen autos, there were 2 reported. Red light camera citations, 317. With respect to code compliance, there was 1 municipal infraction written. There were 40 violation warning stickers placed. No stop work orders, no rental inspections. 36 parking tickets were written. Home and business inspections, 35. code violation follow-ups, there were 15. Code violation vehicles impounded, 10 during the month of April. We've been very vigilant, focusing on Buchanan Street, and we've made a lot of headway. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go up and down Buchanan. We have been putting violation warning stickers on cars. We hand carried letters to each of the business owners, advising them of where the boundary sits with respect to how much business space each business actually has. And so they've been trying to comply. We've had them picking up trash and debris along that alleyway at 51st Avenue and Buchanan. And so I see us making a lot of headway, but we have a long way to go. We invited DPI inspectors down yesterday, and they were looking at that area. Mr. Johnson, you remember we talked about those cars parked in the grass just past Tanglewood, just outside the city. Well, they say it belongs to Park Service, but those vehicles that are parked on that grass on Tanglewood belong to those businesses that are within Edmonston's boundary. So we served notice on them, asking them to move the cars. They gave them 2 weeks. And after that, they're going to come in and they're going to tow them. The vehicles that are sitting in the grass is outside of Edmonston. However, the vehicles come from those shops that are within the boundaries of the town of Edmonton. So we're being vigilant. We have a ways to go yet. And, you know, one of the things, Rod, if you will, one of the things we have to talk about, we have to clean the street. There's been so much, not debris, but renditions of, you know, oil and sludge. The street's just dirty down there. And we need to kind of, you know, the businesses aren't going to do it. So we need to take a look at that, because if we're going to turn the corner, beautifying that particular area, we got to get that street clean. So
Our chief, our street sweeper will be here. We do it quarterly, and they'll be here in a couple of weeks, actually.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. With respect to crime stats, that concludes my report. We have 2 officers who have been out for the last at least 5 days. Officers Shepard and Officer Ortiz. So hopefully we can get them back in the next few days, but there hasn't been a drop off in any of our services. So I'm just sharing that, you know, we want these guys back as quickly as possible. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments for our chief?
On 52nd Avenue, we're still having problems with residents setting cones out in front of their house to mark parking spaces. I know Eric has told them you can't do that. I have told them, you know, I take cones and throw them back in their front yard. What else can we do? Because a few weeks back, we almost had a couple neighbors, you know, come to blows over the cones and the parking.
Right. Did Eric indicate to you that he had a conversation? I know which house you're talking about.
Well, it's 3 houses now.
Did he indicate to you that he spoke to them at all? Because once we speak to him, we're going to consider the cone to be trash, and we'll just come by and take them.
I thought he had said he did talk to the one on the corner. The other 2 houses, I don't believe he's talked to them. But I believe the one on the corner, I thought he said, yes, he had talked to him, because that one also parks his truck in the street where he has the cones blocking it. And I told him, you can't park your truck. He's half in his driveway and half in the street. and he likes to park up on the curb.
Okay.
So I think.
I know what neighbor you're talking about.
Okay.
I'll follow up tomorrow
Okay.
and then I'll give you a response.
All right, well, I just, before it gets out of hand, because it started with the corner house, and now the next two houses down that side are doing the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Barnes?
Thanks, Your Honor. Just a few things about upcoming events. Tuesday at 9 a.m., we're having a business breakfast meeting. The mayor is with the Buchanan Street and Kenilworth Avenue businesses at Berliner Specialty. It's at 9 a.m. And so hopefully we've sent out invitations, personal invitations to all of those businesses. We know they went out in the mail because we mailed ourselves one to make sure that we got one back here, and we did. So Mr. Berliner is thrilled to be hosting us on Tuesday at 9 a.m. And please encourage anyone that wants to attend to do that. The Port Towns Quarterly meeting is Tuesday night at 6:30. It's virtual. I sent out the link, so if you can sign on, that would be great. Mayor Gant has several items on the agenda to talk about, one of them being mental health and the importance of that for our staffs. Bike to Work Day is Friday. Hopefully it's no rain and it's there. We have our station. We have Councilmember Chester. I'm so excited because I think at the last meeting or one of the meetings, you talked about the county's program about biking and Connect, I think you called it, and Vision. Anyway,
Vision Zero.
Yes.
Vision
So
Zero.
a person from the county is having a display for us on Friday with all that information. So I hope maybe you can come by. They're going to be there for sure from 4 to 6. Mr. Johnson is going to be there part of the day. I'll be over there, but we focus on 6 to 8 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon, but 6 to 8 won't be as many folks there, obviously. The police department chief has indicated we're going to have a presence there on from 4 to 6 as one of our bike officers and one of our other officers. We appreciate that interaction. And so it should be a fun time. Usually the folks stop. They like to say hi that are riding the trail, and we get quite a few people at that event. The food pantry, if you have surplus food that you'd like to put in the pantry, please don't hesitate. It's getting tremendous amount of use. It empties out rapidly. So we appreciate the mayor's put a lot of food in there. I know Hillary's put food in there. Others of residents have put food. And so thank you for doing that. And we continue to be excited to have that here in our community to help folks that need to be helped. We're focusing on our America in Bloom visit on June 23rd and 24th. They'll be here for 2 days evaluating the community. And so many of the tasks and things that you see going on are a result of that. The landscapers are going to be redoing a lot of landscapes. We're adding some welcome signs at the rec center across the street in Decatur and Kenilworth, where I'm going to send you a proposal for a bus stop shelter. Thanks to input from the mayor and Councilmember Chester, I'm going in a new vision, new direction, so that it's more safe and open, so people can see in it and not have it as something. So I'll bring you that design but it'll have a green roof and focus and highlight on our environmental effort. We were featured today from this is Municipalities in the Know Week from Denise Ross. And so today we were one of the featured communities, and she put in there about our go-kart and farm. Did you know that Edmonston has a go-kart track and a farm? So, and our motto of a bridging community. So that was kind of fun to see that. I have reached out to her, Councilmember Chester, about whether DPI is going to be doing anything here in Edmonston in the future. So hopefully she will let let us know about that. And I believe I have covered, oh, the last thing I wanted to cover was I asked the mayor, and I believe she was good with this. Our work session for June would be on June 7th and our council meeting on June 8th. So it doesn't make sense to do those on those 2 nights, and it makes sense to combine and do them on the 8th, if that's agreeable with Mayor Gant and the gang.
Sounds good.
And what time? 6 o'clock, start at 6.
Can we notify you of the time? Because it depends on what we have, what agenda items we have.
Okay. Okay.
It probably won't be any earlier than 5:30. Okay.
Sounds good. And last thing was graduation caravan is June 24th. So if you know somebody that's graduating here in the community, I think right now we're about 10 or 12 children. And so young people. And so we'll be going specifically to those homes with our DJ and with our gifts. Please mark that on your calendars for Friday, June 24th. And hopefully that'll be a fun thing for our students here in the community. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions for Mr. Barnes?
Yeah, I got a question. The DJ, is it gonna be that same DJ from our last event?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any reports, comments from the council? Ms. Chester? I'll go by how I see you. Nope, you're good. Thank you. Ms. Tuberville?
Nothing from me.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
I didn't have anything except for I've been up and down the levee since we did the cleanup, and everything's still looking good. So that's about it.
Ms. McCauley?
Where do you want me to start? I'm just messing with you. I'm good.
Ms. Chester?
Sorry, I thought there was something. So Rod and I are putting together a flyer so that we can do our first walk and talk. We'll see how that goes. If that's not a great time for people, we might try, we're going to try it a Friday evening, like kind of after dinner. But if that's not a
I
great
think you
time,
said
we might try
June,
earlier.
June 3rd, June 2nd, June 3rd. What is it?
Yes, June 3rd was the
June 3rd.
the first one at 7 p.m.
Mhm.
Walk and talk. Walk and talk.
It's good. It's good. We're resurrecting what we did, but no, let's not say that. Let's, yeah.
And then,
No.
and then if that's not a great time, we can try like a morning. See, especially as it gets hotter in the summer. So we'll see.
It would, no. It's like, no, it has to be, no. Oh, but yeah, you're right, because it gets hot. I want to come, but no, yeah, as it gets hotter, but it had to, yeah, early in the morning. That's cool.
Experiment and see what works for
Yeah, yeah, neat, yeah. Mhm. I think that's good. We have
I'm
to get it
excited when
going.
we have our walking track, how much.
I can't wait.
Mhm.
Come on. I'm sorry, Mr. Barnes.
Oh, just the walking track, since you brought it up, I just are getting the quotes in on the track itself. So this week, so hopefully that process will start moving. But the second thing I wanted to let you know is the electronic sign was ordered today, and they finally figured out it meets all the requirements with the pedestals, with the electrical, and good to go. We are going to, I met with the landscapers, we're going to remove those 2 large cedar trees, unfortunately, because they do really hide that. And but he said that it would take 6 weeks to get it, so it should be in about the second week of July, or right around July 1st, right in that time frame. So very excited about it. We'll be able to do messages remotely from here, from wherever we're traveling.
Great, great.
So it'll be fun improvement.
I have a question, Chief. Did we get, how many bikes do we have? Did we get 2 additional bikes now?
They were on back order. So right now we only have one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the manufacturer called us and said they're on back order, but there's one ready to go. So that's the one we're gonna
Okay.
have.
For
Friday.
back to, I'm back to work day. Okay, cool. All right. Council, please look out for email from PGCMA if you haven't already gotten one. Yeah, we're having nominations, elections, but tomorrow's meeting is going to be at Prince George's Community College, but it's also going to be virtual. And it's really a quick business meeting, and then it's going to be a round table. You know, it's mental health awareness. So we're going to have a mental health awareness round table with some great representatives. So if you're able to sign in, that would be great. And we encourage all of our staff to do so. And that would include Chief, yourself, or any police officers that would want to sign on as well. It should be beneficial to anyone. And it's just a question and answer roundtable. All right. That's pretty much what I have. Yeah. So again, thank you, Ms. Ferguson, for your input. Thank you, council members, for your input. Great dialogue as usual. That is all that we have. So let me just check and make sure. Yep, that's all I have. So I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make the
I'll make a
motion.
motion. We adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. McCauley and Mr. Johnson. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Shoot. I had one item. I've never done this before.
Meeting adjourned, Mayor.
How do I go back? Sue Ellen, how do I go back? How do I undo?
You ask that they reconsider their closing of the meeting.
Yes, please reconsider your closing of the meeting. Never mind. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's okay. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool.
You'll forget by the next meeting.
No, I'm going to email. Mr. Barnes will send out an email. That's what'll happen. Yeah. He'll send out an email. It's just in reference to gun violence and the gun violence film. I sent you all a invitation to watch it. I know that Mr. Barnes has seen it, and so has our chief. He's seen it, and I wanted you guys to really see it and your support of it. And we're going to have a larger show, especially since what's been going on. So we'll email you and let you know.
When did you send it? When did
We
you
had
send
a
it?
showing in what, the beginning of April or March? Yeah, it was like March, Ms. McCulley.
I didn't, because I haven't gotten any emails from you.
Yeah, I did like a council member group invite.
Okay,
But
I'm
it's
doing-
cool. We're gonna have like quite a few showings, and it will connect with our Hands Across the Bridge as well, because you know that's all about these mass shootings and just mental health and all of that. So I just want to make sure that we're connected. We're gonna have a really large showing of youth, and I wanted us to be able to support some of the youth that are going to attend. And so that's basically it. But I want you to.
Could you resend it? Because I'm going back on emails.
But it's over. It's over. We already had the showing that I invited you to, but I can invite you to another one. We'll have another
Okay.
one.
All
Yeah,
right.
it was at the town rec center. But we'll have a few more. No worries.
All right, because I was going back, scrolling back through, and I see nothing from February, March, April.
Man, maybe I purposely skipped you. I'm sorry. I mean, I accidentally skipped you.
You did it on purpose.
I think it came by text, not email.
Oh, did I? Oh, is that what it was? Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, it was like a group text with the link.
It was a group text. Okay. See, there you go.
There you go. That's why I didn't see it in the email.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Hillary. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.